Hey guys, I think we're live. Do let me know. It's been a little bit hectic right before the stream, but I think we're live and should be going. Yeah, this was just like a last minute thing because I was trading the ETH stuff and also just needed to take a shower before the stream because yeah, I've been up a lot. Been trading, been just watching the election, so it's been a wild day and a half. So do excuse me for being, I think, 10 to 15, maybe 20 seconds late. That is usually not the case. But yeah, thanks for coming by, guys. Big shout out to Bybit for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate it. Their links are in the description. Yeah, we'll talk about Bitcoin, ETH, all that kind of stuff today. See where it's going to head. I think there's going to be some weird volatility, obviously, because of the election and because people are on edge in general in all markets. So we'll try to make sense of it. Can't really promise too much, but yeah, I think we'll figure stuff out. You remained quite silent during the election results. I was waiting for some of your posts. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and I think, I mean, it's just something that I do. When I don't have a clue about something, I usually don't talk about it. So, I mean, I have no fucking idea how. I mean, I know a lot for a European guy about this election, I think, or in general about America, but it's not like I'm particularly educated and professional enough to make calls on that stuff, right? So when I don't have an educated opinion, I try to be silent as much as I can, even though like sometimes I do want to type stuff, but I just know like I much rather not talk when I have no idea what's going on than just say something for the sake of it. So I mean, I knew it wasn't over, and I knew it was just like gonna be crazy. But yeah, I mean, there was several times where I was like, "Oh shit, this is mad" during the election, and I mean, it's not over yet, right? So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. Hello Don, we fading this. I'm looking for a fade on ETH, honestly. Reason being, and I'll talk about this. Sorry for just going off topic for a while. I think today's gonna be a little bit. We're just gonna talk normally, not try to keep it structured too much. But I'll try to keep it like I'll try to make it make sense. But I mean, with me, you never know, right? Can't promise anything. But yeah, I'm looking for an ETH fade in general. Not entirely sure about Bitcoin, but yeah, we'll start with Bitcoin. Let me quickly make this. Usually I clean the charts up before I start streaming. But yeah. Okay, so here we go. So high time frame wise, right? And I think this is the chart to watch in general. We're at resistance. I've been saying we're at support at 10K a million times. We rallied from that. Now I'm saying we're at resistance, right? The kind of thing to watch out for is that we have this kind of double top, right? And even though like double tops usually, I mean, there's a good chance we find resistance here, even if this pulls back, right? Like let's say we get some crazy weird thing going where we pull back massively, right? I'd still think now that we've painted this double top, that we're probably going to take it out eventually, right? So crazy drop, we go to 7-8K, right? Not saying it's going to happen, but like let's say if it would, I would still kind of try to take longs into this double top and then see where it goes from there, right? So generally, like if there's a pullback, if it's weak, I could see like this is just a chart that I generally not try to fade. That's why my ETH bearishness is kind of like the way out, because I can't really be too bearish on this chart. So I don't have to, and I don't have to be, right? I think there's a good chance this pulls back from resistance, but as long as 10K holds, right, it's a pretty bullish chart. And if 10K breaks, it's still a pretty bullish chart, but then we'll go lower to like 7K-ish. But still, I'd still expect to kind of go relatively soonish back to these kind of numbers based on the week, on the monthly chart, right? So monthly chart's pretty bullish. It's just at resistance. So like traditionally wise, you take a long here, it's a bullish trend, whatever, into a bullish retest, right? And then you take the position off here at resistance and you wait and see what happens. If this month's gonna close above resistance or not, if we're gonna get a pullback where you can kind of reestablish that kind of stuff, right? So I think that's just that's the approach that makes most sense based on high time frames, right? So yeah, that's kind of my high time frame view on Bitcoin. And it's the same thing with the weekly, really. This is the last resistance. Last resistances usually put up a fight, right? If there's one thing, it's the same with support actually. So last support 6K, right? And then it took forever for that to break. And then we went to near zero, right? At least it felt like it. And it's the same thing here where I could see 14K be a resistance for quite a while. But I don't have a clear read yet on it. So not entirely sure how it's gonna go. But yeah, same with the weekly as with the monthly. We are so high now that even if we pull back, right? As long as it doesn't, like, let's say we pull back like comically like this. I mean, yeah, obviously I'm gonna try to fade it, right? But to like lower levels. But until that happens, right? And I mean, that's the thing, right? You can turn bearish lower quite easily. Let's say we break down. Retest of 12K would be one where you start looking for bearish entries. But for me, like my bearishness is not focused on Bitcoin right now anyway. I'm just playing like support to resistance style. And the daily, same thing. I told you last stream, I'm looking for, like, if this breaks, I'm going to trade it lower. But as long as it holds, I'm not going to expect anything crazy. And I mean, that's what's been happening, right? Gradual kind of grind upwards. So, yeah. That said, someone in the chat already said it, like the low time frames, you kind of do have this triple spike upward, like this walk upwards with spikes, whatever. But I'm not really interested in trading the kind of election day volatility too much. So I mean, that's based, this is, if you're like, why the fuck does this chart look like it does, right? Look at the SPX. And I mean, you've seen that's actually too high of a time frame. You've seen this shit, right? And Bitcoin, same kind of choppy action. So you can kind of play off of the traditional markets, off of the election results, right? When you see a state flipping, whatever, you can actually trade the markets that way. But yeah. So I see your point. The thing that scares me with an ETH short is ETH BTC being close to support. Yeah, we'll talk about this too. And I mean, sometimes, right? Let's say you're looking at this and this Bitcoin thing, right? And you're like, this is way too high for me to buy, which is fair. And then you're like, but I don't want to short it either because, I mean, it's not that bearish really. Like, it's not broken any supports. It's not given any indication that it's just going to go down. I mean, then you don't have to trade something when you don't have a clue, right? And for me, I had a clue at support at 10K that fuck no, I wasn't going to short into that. And I followed that and then it broke out, right? And that's fine by me. Now we're at resistance. And I mean, I have a clue that I probably don't want to long into that resistance. But it's not strong enough for me to just straight up short, honestly. I mean, I've had my fun on low time frames, right? But what I'm playing pretty much is just this kind of like low time frame volatility. and I haven't done this, but like this stuff, like I showed at the monthly level a couple times. That's been doing wonders, right? This is the monthly level. That kind of stuff is fine by me, right? But I'm not swinging for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5K, whatever, just because the chart doesn't really indicate that we're gonna just do that. I still think there's a good chance at some point, right? Who the fuck knows where, but there's a good chance that we kind of pull back massively. I just don't know where it starts, right? And if this goes parabolic, I much rather, like let's say this goes parabolic, right? I'm not entirely sure if it does, but let's say it does. If this goes parabolic and then starts breaking to the downside and goes back below the monthly resistance, then I know, okay, there's a good chance that we've actually put in a top. If it just breaks down here and then loses support, I'm pretty sure, okay, we're at least going to see a decent sized pullback, right? But until either of those things happen, I would just be fishing for entries, and fishing for entries for bearish entries in a bullish trend is pretty difficult. So you got to be a little bit careful. But I mean, it's fine to take. It's just not something I'm looking at right now. And we'll talk about ETH in a second because that's a little bit different. So yeah. I'm short ETH. What's up, Don? I'm short ETH. Are you with me? I've been short ETH for the longest time. I put out a tweet yesterday about me reducing and closing my position, my ETH short and my Bitcoin short, because I was trading the monthly level. So no, I'm not with you, but I'm thinking about it. Buy the dip duck. Duck is bullish. Moon. I mean, I'm not bullish into monthly resistance. That's not the case. But yeah, wouldn't necessarily just like for me, would have to pull something that shows me that it's bearish, as in lose this, put in a parabolic rally, and then start crashing down. I'd expect a second leg from that. But then again, like maybe it's beaten bear, even though like it's actually not been too bad. Like I've been bearish here, closed into this, and I mean that's been my bearishness in the last. I mean, how long ago is that now? Jesus, time flies. That's been the extent of my bearishness in the last 2 months, right? Been heavily bearish here, close to support. So yeah, I don't really mind chilling, and I think a lot of bears got fucked by this up move. So sometimes it's just time to chill. If you like wanna play one direction, you can obviously just long support as well. The fact that you have a target means you're not realistic. Bet more. Creds in the chat. I legit forgot you're streaming today, dude. I forgot as well. I mean, I was just like, I was trading ETH, and then I was like, oh shit, really need to take a shower. And I looked at the time, and I was like, oh shit, today is Wednesday. Why are you looking for shorts, not longs, Doug? I mean, ETH, I'll explain. And on Bitcoin, I mean, I'll long if I get like a pullback. I'm just not gonna long into monthly resistance, right? And around monthly resistance. And that's the thing, right? I was talking about looking for longs at monthly support. So with me in general, what you're gonna get is I look at the monthly chart and you see the monthly at red, right? So I'm gonna be like, oh, maybe there's gonna be an opportunity to sell the spike above the monthly, above the resistance. It's just how I work. And then if it's at support down here, I'm like, oh, maybe there's a chance to at least close the shorts that you've taken at the highs into that level or long that level. So, I mean, just based on this, just based on monthly resistance here, I'm not going to be the guy that hero longs into monthly resistance. Salsa might do that. He's in the chat, but, and he does it well. So, but it's not my trading style. So I look for this, I look for shorts. And ETH is going to be even more clear why. Like I don't really understand why people are trying so desperately to make ETH go up, because it's clearly bearish to me. But I could be wrong, like ETH 2.0 could not be a meme after all. So, yeah. So yeah, ETH. The reason why I'm not looking for longs at all, and I'm actually like, this is the one where I'm, whoops, I just ruined this, whatever. The reason why I'm actually thinking and trying to look for fades is that this is just clearly bearish to me. You've had this breakdown, right? I've talked about this multiple times in the past, where it's like, you've had this massive rally. This is the support resistance flip of the rally pretty much before the breakdown. Then we had this break out into that, like if you want to call this a range or whatever, back into this structure. And what happened next was a rug pull the next month. Like you had a massive candle to the downside, almost 40% pullback, right? I mean, if this was Bitcoin up, that would have been nice, like a pretty good entry, generally speaking. But what happened, instead of just reclaiming, like in a bull market, you kind of get this, a bearish candle, and then maybe like the next month it move up or whatever above resistance, is we actually found resistance at resistance. And it's not something you want to see. It's not something you want to see after a breakout. Like whenever you have a range, right, you start breaking out and then you pull back and you actually lose the top of the range and then you retest the top of the range. It's not necessarily the time to get bullish, in my opinion. And that's pretty much what this is, to me anyway. Like this is where I would expect it to go back to support, and support is down here. So ETH/USD looks just bearish to me. My TA, like this kind of setup, is usually one that I am pretty much always short. And it's the same, like if this was support, right? Let's say this was flipped, I would do the same thing. Let's look at that. See, like this is the most obvious support level, right? And I would try to long this because it's the last chance to long, right? Until it loses the support. Like this, I would at least look for, I mean, honestly, like I would look for a wick down here into something like this. Even though like the inverse chart obviously doesn't work as well as the normal chart because trading behaviors is different. You can't just inverse the chart and be like, okay, it's going to behave the exact same way. But for me, like I would look for a long here into resistance. This would probably be the one that I'd look at in this case. But given that I think like if you're shorting, you always look for the first one. And the first one is here, I'd be looking for this. Even more so given that I'm not the biggest, like the ETH 2.0 thing, the hype that we have going on right now is just something like whenever you have a big pullback into positive news, what you usually get, and I mean, I can show you an example of this. You get a massive bear market, whatever, right? But generally speaking, you get technical failure, right? Here on EOS. You have this range, you break down, you get positive news, and then you get a pump out of it. In general, it's way more likely that that's just going to be faded and it's just going to die down afterwards than that it just changes the trend and goes up. And in the case of ETH, if you look at even the ETH Bitcoin pair, even though it's at support, right? It's been trending down. That's what I was expecting to see like a week ago. Didn't even get that. It's trending down and you get positive news on low time frames, right? Like this. And usually these spikes, like, I mean, this is, I don't know if you guys have seen what this spike was all about, right? But this was pretty much Vitalik tweeting that ETH, that they're working, like that something is working for ETH 2.0 pretty much. Which is huge news, right? Given the fact that it's been delayed so long, given the fact that it's just been a headache to get anything started there. And what we got out of it is a 3% pump. Like you get a 3% pump out of like massive news in a downtrend. Fuck that shit. Like this is not something that you would want to see. as an ETH pool. Yes, it's at support. Yes, I wouldn't necessarily look to kind of aggressively short ETH BTC alone. But I mean, ETH USD is at monthly resistance, right? And then you have this confluence of ETH BTC being stupidly weak. Just something I don't want to touch. Even more so given the fact, like on the long side anyway, even more so given the fact that all the other altcoins, and I mean, I've been talking about this for ages, if you've been around, are starting to capitulate, right? So you have this kind of trajectory for the altcoins, and then in the middle of this, where they're gonna start accelerating down here. And then you have ETH with bullish news in the middle of this. I just don't think that ends well. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm more than prepared to take a loss on this. I've been trading this like a madman. So, I mean, even if I get stopped out once, right, and I'm not in a position right now, but I want to fade this spike, I'm more than happy to take one stop loss, right? And just given the fact how all the other altcoins look, given the fact that even though we had bullish news that should rocket this thing upwards, it's obviously not doing it. And I mean, I could be wrong. Like, this could be just like the start of a massive uptrend. I just don't think so. And if it does happen, right, I'm just gonna get stopped out once. So more than happy to short ETH. And the thing is, like, I talked about like not being too confident in the monthly level for Bitcoin. I mean, I'm pretty confident in the monthly level, but in general, like, Bitcoin doesn't have enough for me to aggressively short it, right? But this being at monthly resistance, with ETH USD being at monthly resistance, and then in general the altcoins being extremely weak, is enough for me to at least attempt trading this to the next support. But that's just my personal view. I don't know. I know a lot of people have different kind of opinions. I know Jules Salsa Tequila has been long ETH, so there's always two sides to a coin, right? This could be, and that is something that does happen in bull markets. Just a close at resistance where people get baited into shorting, and then the next one is just going to be high. Could happen. It's always a risk that you take when you trade, right? Because if you could predict the future, I mean, trading with one would be boring, but two, I mean, yeah, you wouldn't have to think about this shit. What about altcoin capitulation, Don? Do you think it's close? I think it's happening. Like, I literally think it's happening right now. It's just a process that takes a while. And the worst thing that could happen, and I mean, that's what I'm really afraid of, is that we start, like, this is how it should look for everything, right? This is how it should look. This is clearly capitulation to me. Be it capitulation in the sense that it's going to zero, like, that's always the risk, right? When you have capitulation, it's always the risk that the thing that capitulates actually goes to zero if it can't find any buyers, right? But this is how capitulation looks. If you get something more to like a slide down and then something like this, like, for example, Litecoin, that's the one where I'm looking at that where I'm like, ah, shit. If you get something like this where it just slides down slowly, maybe goes sideways again, starts this entire shit again. If you look at it, sideways into tiny drop, into sideways, into tiny drop over years and years, right? I mean, this is not years and years, but it's been a good year and a few months at least. And that's something that I don't want to see, because when it's still bleeding out, I'm not confident in buying it, right? But obviously, if everything else capitulates, and that's what I'm hoping for in the entire market, and you have an outlier that goes sideways, obviously do take a look at it. But yeah, I think you're seeing the start of capitulation on some of these altcoins. Interesting part is that ETH still holding support. I mean, that's clearly strength in comparison to them. But that also means if those supports break, all hell breaks loose, right? And I could see that happen, but could also be wrong. So like this is starting to capitulate downwards. EOS is starting to capitulate downwards. Bitcoin Cash starting to capitulate. That said, like this was the last capitulation, right? And I mean, I can show you how this usually goes. You have support here, right? Or like whatever in this entire area. And then you get a move into it and it actually doesn't do anything. And then it just starts breaking down. And that kind of stuff can go on for a long time. Like this went down 50% after breaking the support. The entire move down, was 75%. So this could take a while, right? This took more than a month and a half. We are pretty much 3 weeks in now. But, and it could go low as well. So this move right now is 27%. This was 75%, right? So just because it's capitulating doesn't mean, okay, yeah, I'm just going to start buying. Because if you start buying, you could be underwater 50% in a month. But yeah, I think that they're definitely capitulating. It's just a question of, are people actually going to bid it or not? Because just because something is capitulating doesn't mean it has to go up again, right? Just means that holders are just terrified and exchanging their altcoins for Bitcoin. And it kind of makes you able to buy stuff cheap if you actually want to have it, right? So let's say you hate Bitcoin Cash, you think it's going to zero, and you start seeing it capitulate, right? And like, I am like 100% sure this is going to zero, but it's capitulating, so I want to buy it. I mean, that's not necessarily how it works. You could get like a good deal on it, but you're still buying Bitcoin Cash, right? So, I mean, buying that capitulation that takes balls. And I mean, I've never bought any capitulation where I wasn't afraid of doing so. Like every time I've bought any kind of capitulation on these coins, I've been like, oh shit, this money is going to zero. So, yeah, I mean, it's a wild market, right? But yeah, back to ETH. Generally speaking, what would make me a lot more bearish and a lot more aggressive on ETH is a close below weekly support. Because, I mean, what has happened, and this is something that I failed to mention in the last few minutes, is that we've closed that resistance for the monthly, and we're showing like a little bit of weakness into that resistance. But we've had the opposite happen on the weekly. So there is good reason to be a little more cautious, because what's happened is broken resistance, retested it, not in a bullish kind of way. Like usually when you retest resistance, like this is how a bullish retest looks like, right? This is not necessarily one of them, but I mean, it could be the bullish retest. But we'll just have to wait and see. And if you really want to get like, if you're, oh shit, I don't want to short ETH, because I'm just not sure about it, I think that's completely fine. Because you have a pretty nice short setup if ETH starts losing 380. Like you start losing 380 on a weekly closing basis, I'm pretty damn sure we're going to at least like 300, if not 290, but probably to monthly support, right? If it doesn't, I mean, you don't have time framed alignment, you don't have anything really other than the monthly and ETH BTC weakness. So, I mean, that's not as certain of a trade where I just bet the house on it, right? If it starts losing 380, I mean, I still wouldn't bet the house on it, but I'd risk more. Yeah, go to short ETH 2.0, super wise decision. I mean, I think ETH 2.0 is kind of meh. That's my personal opinion. We'll see how it plays out, right? But when you think something is meh, something newsworthy that is just like not that exciting, you obviously short it, right? Because you're like, oh shit, the news, like bullish news came out. This entire rally is pretty much anticipation of this bullish news. And I think the news is going to be like not that, it's just not going to be as big as people think. I mean, not as big to warrant a rally of 400%. Then why the fuck would you not short it? If you think ETH 2.0 is like the future of everything, you'd obviously not short it because you're like, holy shit, this is going to just keep on rocketing. And I mean, I think that's fine to do, right? Just depends on your underlying belief in what this is going to do. What is the trigger to fade or buy a wick? Just do it and hope to be a fake out. I mean, I just look at lower time frame resistance, right? I've been basically trading this downtrend. And excuse my charts, they've turned really ugly. And taking profit into this daily support. That's been pretty much my ETH strategy. Just short it whenever it hits that line, take profit into support, trade that over and over and over again, right? And that's been doing pretty well. I've done a little bit more on the low time frames, but that's been pretty much how I've been abusing this. Now that we've had a breakout, right? And this is something I talk about like a million times over in pretty much every stream. Whenever I see something like this, like an obvious pattern at obvious kind of points in the market, right? I play that pattern, but I don't want to play it too long, and I expect a breakout that usually gets faded, right? So I'd expect something like this or something like this. And the fact that we broke it out, but pre-weekly is like, for me, I'm looking for this to go back down. But then again, like I said, if you want to be careful, and I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to play this, but I mean, if I feel like the market is too bullish to fade, I just wait for it to go back below 380 and then start there. And I think that's probably the most reasonable take anyway. But I could see myself being more aggressive. It will remove supply, lower fee, speed, scalability. I mean, in a few years maybe. Bitcoin seems not to care about anything, barely dumped on BitMEX news, KuCoin and Huobi, even today with the uncertainty of the US election. Last time Bitcoin didn't give a shit about anything, it mooned. That's usually how I like to trade this kind of news stuff too. I look at bearish news, and if bearish news comes out, right, you have bearish news and you get like a tiny dump and nothing follow, like no follow through, no nothing. I usually try to look for longs, and it's the obvious, the opposite is obviously also true for highs, right? You see something bullish at highs and just doesn't do anything, or produces like a high that takes out the previous high and then just start selling, right? That would be bearish. So I mean, you could look for the same thing here, right? This is bullish news, obviously. So we took out the high, or we're trading into the high. So you could just wait and see, okay, how is this going to play out? Is it going to show weakness? It's going to get sold off into like the 404 high, whatever. Is it going to go back to 390? And if it does, I mean, that's clearly people selling into the bullish news, right? But, I mean, shorting shit in a bull market is risky. So, I mean, I get why people are like, dude, you're crazy. I don't think it's crazy, but I think it's risky. That's for sure. But that's that. Yeah, ETH I talked about. Like, that's the crazy thing, right? We're getting this bullish narrative into support even, and it's just not doing anything. So this, I think in general, and I mean, that's not necessarily a fault of ETH. It's just like Bitcoin's been so strong, and the narrative for Bitcoin is pretty much it's worth something in a sea of stuff that isn't worth anything, right? And then you have all these altcoins where that narrative just doesn't apply, right? Where you're like, okay, ETH does this and does it really well, but there's probably gonna be another altcoin that does it too, right? That does what ETH does. Not necessarily better, but it's just like there could be another one. it's pretty hard to make that argument for Bitcoin, like that there's going to be another Bitcoin. So the narrative is kind of like diverging, and the ETH narrative is a different one from Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is carried by that narrative, right? So if you have Bitcoin on a narrative upswing, you have ETH along with all the other altcoins on a narrative downswing, right? So it's really hard for ETH to actually show strength or like keep up with the Bitcoin rally, because the narrative of ETH has to be so outstanding in a sea of shitty narratives with all the other altcoins that would actually have to counteract this entire down move and then start moving alongside Bitcoin, which is really hard to do, right? It's already impressive that it's not been dumping as much as the other ones. Already bought some Dogecoin? Nope. Nope. Still waiting. But it's at support. So, I mean, I could see that go up from support. Like, just plainly looking at the chart, this is at support. And, I mean, if I didn't have like the context of all the other altcoins dumping, I could see this just rally from here. But I mean, in general, usually you get a week or two for at least a week or two. Like in this case, you had a shitload of time to get positioned. Generally speaking, like even here, you've had 4 weeks, 3 weeks down here. So, I mean, I'm looking for any kind of bullishness in this. And in the other altcoins. So far, I've not been too excited, but yeah. Like in general, if I zoom out and look at Dogecoin, right, this market, you can kind of see that it's lost some of its volatility, right? I mean, this is just like, this is the market, and then like, it's very different, right? You can kind of see how it's different. I mean, we can even look at it, like I don't have to draw these lines. We can look at it on a line chart. You can clearly see that there's something different, right? Like there's a massive void of anything here or anything here, whereas this just has like these massive oscillations, right? So there's something different going on. So who knows if we're gonna get another Doge pump? I mean, I'm gonna bet on it, but I mean, I'm not entirely sold. Like, I wouldn't say this is 100% certain, given that we're gonna pump off of 15 or like 10 or 5 sats. I mean, there's a chance it just literally goes to 0 or like to 1 sat. That's where they always stop. I mean, I'm gonna bet on it not going to 1 sat by buying, but it has to be pretty convincing. And in general, like this just looks like a high time frame range, where I'm always like, you have these high time frame ranges and you want to buy, right? You guys know what I always say, right? You wait for a break below the range and then the reclaim, and then you either buy the capitulation below the range or the reclaim. And that kind of scares the shit out of me in this case, because like if this hasn't capitulated yet, I mean, where the fuck does it go below this range? Because I mean, there's only 15 sats, right? That is kind of scary. So, I mean, it'd be pretty damn nice to get this at like 8 sats and say, okay, I bought the sweep of the lows. But yeah, I mean, it's been pretty scary to buy any of these moves into the support. So maybe I'm thinking too much. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna buy it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna buy 15. Not gonna buy it too big. Gonna keep ammo to buy lower. In general, like my favorite kind of thing for it to do would probably, like if I bought 15 and it went to 20, 22, 23, and like in a good candle, I might actually add like higher. But yeah, this is a little bit scary. But Dogecoin, come on, altcoin about nothing. That's the thing, like for me, all these altcoins are about nothing, right? So for me, it doesn't really make a difference other than the fact that Doge's just honest about it all. And I mean, I love trading altcoins, right? Like people always say like I'm an altcoin hater, and that couldn't be further from the truth, right? I made all my money pretty much with altcoins, and then made a little bit more on it with Bitcoin. And I mean, I fucking love these things. It's just when the chart's bearish, I'm gonna be bearish in it, right? And I mean, I love altcoins for what they've done to my net worth, but I don't love them for what they are, because for me these are pretty shitty, all of them combined. I haven't been convinced by like pretty much any of these, and I mean that's fine, right? That makes me able to trade these without being too married to them, right? So let's say I buy Dogecoin. I mean, I know that this could go to zero. If I didn't know, I'd probably go all in at some point, and then it goes to zero and I'm fucked, right? And I think it's probably like the wiser way to play these is just be agnostic to them. Just trade the chart, or trade in general the feelings of other people. And I mean, that's what I'm gonna try to do anyway. For each life they make, they ruin several others. I mean, that's true. But then again, like, there's no one, like, if you lose money on these, it's your fault. And if you make money on them, your fault as well, right? That's just I mean, if you're gambling in general, you can't really blame the opposite party of making money or losing money, right? And there's just people that are better at it, and there's people that are worse on it. But I mean, I do find a lot of these coins and what people do with them highly immoral. Like, I couldn't do it. Like a lot of these DeFi coins, for example, for me personally, they've been made to make money. Not like these early coins, right? And that's the big difference between like a lot of all early coins in comparison to a lot of the newer ones, is that these early coins were made by people that loved the idea of crypto coins, and they're just like, I want to try this, I want to make this myself, I want to play with it, instead of nowadays where you have, okay, let me make a cryptocurrency so I can profit off of it, right? There's a big difference there. So I mean, there's, for me at least, for the older coins, there's a little bit more respect based on that fact. Like, they're not trying to make a blockchain to make money with it or to get hype in. They just made it because they loved it. But yeah. Someone keeps asking about XMR. Like, someone asked about shorting XMR, and I mean, this is just wild to me. Like, this is the opposite, and like, this is the biggest support that you have, right? Like, when you say ETH is at the biggest resistance, this is at the biggest support. Could this break down? Obviously, right? And I don't like that it's retesting here. But like, why would I want to short this now after, like, how much did this go down? After a 30% down move into support, when there's other coins that look better short. This is not something I would want to touch on the short side. If anything, I would want to look at it on the long side. But given the fact that I'm bearish on pretty much all the other altcoins, obviously not gonna buy this. Like, when you have something at support, right? And this is something that happens in the crypto market like all the time. You have something at support, it's ranging, whatever, it's at support, and you're like, I want to buy this. And then you look at 5 other altcoins and they look all the same. But what they've done is they've broken the support, right? What are the chances that this is going to hold the support, right? They're pretty slim. So for me, this is not something that I would want to long. But the fact that it's been behaving stronger, like it's been holding the range, it's been behaving much, much stronger than the other altcoins that haven't. Like, I don't want to short the outlier, like the one that is actually doing well in a bear market, because the moment it turns around, it's probably going to outperform, right? So when I see this, like, I see this chart and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure like there's a good chance that this breaks down here, because the other altcoins look pretty hideous. So there's a good chance that this follows the other altcoins down. But the fact that it's actually looking so strong in comparison to the other altcoins is just, for me, a sign, okay, you don't want to be shorting this. You'd be, if anything, looking for longs, right? So let's say XMR does something like this. I think there's a good chance that what we have on our hands is something like this. And then it goes back in the range. So I'd much rather be looking for buys low than for buys here. But like, I definitely wouldn't want to short it based on the fact, okay, yeah, it's just been doing well, so it's high up. It's not the best strategy. It's the same with, okay, this coin has been doing really, really poorly. I want to be longing it because if it does as well as the other ones, it's going to catch up or even outdo them. It's just not something I'd do. Lol, nothing is going to zero. I mean, it's not going to zero. Like, there's coins out there. I mean, I can show you what I do. Coin market cap, right? So, for example, and I mean, I don't even know if I still have it, but this is a coin where I have a shitload or had a shitload. I don't know if it's actually still existent. Whatever, right? I have this coin. It has a 300K market cap. And this is why I always complain about people saying, okay, the altcoin market cap is going up, right? This is why the altcoin market is going up. This coin has a $320,000 market cap, right? And then you look at the price, like at the markets where it's traded on a scam exchange, right? All the other ones delisted, or like most of the other exchanges that actually had this coin actually just went bankrupt or just disappeared in general. And the volume is non-existent. I mean, we can look at HitBTC. I can't recommend trading on this, by the way, but we can look at the market for this, right? So buy support, right? Literally nothing, right? There's nothing there for ages and ages, right? So this goes really, really low. I mean, you can just see where the bids are. And then there's nothing until down here, right? And there's no trades there either. So you have like these bullshit trades of like a few, and this coin is worth nothing, right? So if you look at it, 0.03, right? So there's no volume there, there's nothing, but it has a 300K market cap. If I sold my shit, this would go to zero, right? So it's just, I have this and the coin isn't at zero, but if I sold my entire stash, I could drive it to zero. I'm just not doing it because it's not worth anything. This has a market cap. It drives the altcoin market cap up, but it's essentially worthless. And you can't trade it anywhere legit anyway. So yeah, stuff might not go to zero, but this might as well be zero. So, and that's true for a lot of other altcoins as well. Yeah. So many people don't understand that, and they're like, holy shit, the altcoin market cap is going up, right? That 300K right there that I showed you doesn't exist. Like, there's no buy support for it. And I mean, this coin could go up at some point, right? I mean, that'd be nice. Make a few bucks back from what I've lost. I mean, I've made money on the coin. I just didn't sell it all. Didn't realize I didn't sell it all, and then realized much later that I actually still had a portion of what I used to own. But like that kind of stuff kind of changes the perception for people. Like they start charting market caps for altcoins, and like the market cap for altcoins is going up. Like, what are you talking about? But if you look at all these altcoins, like they've clearly been trending down, right? So the market cap going up doesn't mean anything to you, because I mean, you're the guy that is holding Litecoin. And then you have people telling you, yeah, the market cap's going up, and you're like, what the fuck? Am I the biggest idiot? Because I've only been losing money. And no, you haven't. Like, you know, you're not the biggest idiot. They're just adding stuff to the list that doesn't actually exist. So yeah. But yeah, sorry for the unplanned kind of move off of the normal scheduled content. Send it to 0 on Stream Deck? Nah, it's not what I'm gonna do. Hey Dawn, what do you think? How much 24-hour volume does an altcoin need to be okay to trade? Depends on your size, right? Let's say you trade $5 and the coin has 50,000 volume, whatever. You might be able to get filled. You might be able to trade around, right? And that's fine. Let's say you have like $100,000. You're probably not going to be able to do anything in that market. So it really depends on your size. And something that I use, like something that I can only recommend is trying like these kind of, like, not exactly the coin that I was talking about, but like in general altcoins out, like trying like to trade these tiny altcoins, see what happens, see how you get filled, kind of get familiar with the market in the sense that you kind of get to know its rhythm, because that's really nice, right? When you can kind of get to know a market like from the ground up while it's spending like a tiny amount of money, and you can actually influence a market, like a tiny market, with the money that you have, and then you can scale it up. Think about, okay, how does a bigger market work like this, right? Like, I mean, that's what I used to do anyway, with altcoins. Get a tiny altcoin, get an allocation, and then trade it around, see how it influences the market. Because like you see yourself dumping, and then you start seeing other people like starting to panic, that kind of stuff. That's just a good kind of experience to have, in my opinion. So yeah, someone asked about XRP, so we'll go over XRP. Yeah, it's been trending down, and it's been making new lows, and it's starting to approach cycle low, right? And I mean, technically, I said I would buy this cycle low. Not entirely sure if I wanna. Not entirely sure if I'm going to, because my problem with this, and this is why I said earlier that like a slow drop, whatever, would be my worst nightmare. It's because like this isn't really picking up speed, right? And I wouldn't want to see this shit. Like, I don't want to see this. Like, because you know how this is going to end, right? You see this, you know how it's going to end. It's going to end with this. And this is much more like this than it was like this, in my opinion anyway. So that kind of scares me. That kind of, like, when I see this, and this is why like having blind bids isn't necessarily always the best thing to do. When I see this, I get scared that we're actually repeating this, and we're going much lower than cycle low. But like, let's say we did something where we didn't have like this slow bleed out, but like a big dump into support. Like, that would make it much easier for me to buy. The ironic thing is about all of this, like this candle down, like you trade sideways and you get this candle down. For me, and then maybe like it starts slowing down here, starts curving upwards, right? Excuse my ugly drawing. This is much less scary than something that just does this and then just buying it here, because like this looks to me like it's just gonna fucking do this move, even though it's already went down the exact same amount as this has. So for me, this candle is less scary than this one, because this is just setting up for the big event, and this kind of looks like it's setting up for the big event. But I mean, down there, that's the biggest support and last support that you have. So 1,500 sats for XRP. I mean, if you want to be an XRP holder, it's a good area to kind of look for buys. It's just, like I said, this is terrifying. And it's not terrifying because it's down, because that doesn't really terrify me. Or maybe a little, but not as much as the fact that it hasn't really picked up any speed, and it's just it started to squeeze people by the balls, but it hasn't really gotten them yet. So like the scary thing is in these situations is that you join the people that get wrecked by this rather than being the person that takes advantage of the people that got wrecked by this, right? So it's like you have a battlefield, right? And you see a trap forming on the battlefield, right? And you just jump in on the losing party and they get annihilated and you're wrecked. Versus you see a battlefield, you wait for it to play out, the losing party gets wrecked and you walk in and steal their shit. So, I mean, for me, this is scary because of that reason. But, I mean, support, and maybe the paradigm has shifted for altcoins. Could be. Still buying Doge 15 sats and under. Yeah, that's one of the ones where I'm just gonna be headstrong and risk some money. Someone asks about NEM all the time, and I'll entertain you, my friend. I mean, it's the same with. This is literally the same situation as XMR, right? So the rally is impressive and it's at support. So technically this could easily bounce here, right? But the fact that we've had this massive rally and it's literally retraced all of it is kind of scary, right? But it's at support and it's shown more strength than a lot of other altcoins. So I would keep watching it, but I wouldn't want to necessarily just buy the support just because it's support. But that is because of my underlying notion that I think altcoins are going to capitulate. If you don't think that happens, and I mean, it doesn't have to happen, right? I mean, not every market plays out like 10 times the same way, right? It's kind of happened 8 times before, but it doesn't have to happen the ninth time. I'm just the guy that's like, okay, I've seen that happen like so many times before. I'm just going to wait and see if it happens again. Right? But if you're the guy that says, I really like this coin, and you're asking me, okay, what's the best support? I mean, this is the best support, right? It's literally the best support that you're ever going to get. For me, the better buy would be something like lose the range and then reclaim the range. But if you're like super bullish on this project, I mean, this is the best support that you're going to get. And if it's lost, it's probably bearish, right? And if you want to see how that looks like, for something that's lost the support, look at XLM. This is when it breaks out of a range, retests it, and then fails. And I've been saying XLM is bullish as long as it holds this breakout. And I mean, NEM technically too, or XM, whatever. I mean, it's NEM, but yeah. But if it goes back into the trading range, probably goes to the lower end of the trading range and probably heads lower. And for this XLM, right? I mean, I've not made I really dislike this stuff. Like I really dislike this coin. But I think like purely technical, this breaking support and it's probably gonna go to the next one, and that's 44% down. And that kind of aligns with okay, capitulation, whatever. The kind of crazy part is like if you want to play this in the most memey way possible, right? There's literally a fucking like this goes down here, it goes higher, and it goes to 0. That'd be the most memey way for this to end, right? Is it gonna happen? I don't know, but I wouldn't want to buy it unless it undercuts the support heavily and then fails, and then does something like this, goes back up into the range. That would make the trade relatively easy to take. Or if it goes back to support, and then, I mean, the scary part is if you're buying the support, you might be the guy that literally buys it the last time where it's valuable before it goes to something stupid low. But I mean, that's the risk with buying these things, right? I mean, this is like penny stocks that haven't produced any sort of value, and you're buying it just because it's cheap. And I mean, that goes wrong more often than it doesn't, right? It's just that the reward is high, so people do it. Yeah, you talked about NEM being like having longer history. I know. I mean, it's one of the old timers, right? This is USD and this is a bad chart. Doesn't really matter. The USD charts, in my opinion, don't matter too much. And I mean, this honestly is like, this is the hilarious part. You have more history, and this is, oh fucking hell, dude. That's the most fucked up shit. This is hilarious because this shit always plays out in the meme kind of ways. I missed the Bitcoin analysis. You can go back to it. You can go, and I mean, I'm not gonna go for much longer, so you can just give it like 5 to 10 minutes until I'm finished, right? And then just rewatch the start. That's fine. What about Neo? So yeah, for me, to get back to this, like, the thing is, this could easily just be the next cycle start, right? So you have a rally and it retraces most of it, and then it goes and does like a crazy thing. I'm not saying that there's no chance of it happening. I mean, the chances are slim in my opinion, but there's a chance that it happens again, right? And that's why it's, for me, it's always like, I see this, it's put in a massive rally. That's not bearish, right? That's pretty nice. This could literally be like, you have this massive pump, you retrace like all of it, and then you go for the real pump. That's happened for Dogecoin too, right? If you look at Dogecoin, this is like, you have, it's not a massive pump, but like before this pump, right? Before the last like really significant pump, you had a test pump, and then you retrace all of it, and then you go, right? So it's really difficult to be bearish these coins at support. It's just, they're at support, they can still go down like 50%. They could go down 100%. And I mean, that's something I've been saying for years at this point. So it's like, they're down so much that any reasonable person would expect them to go to zero, right? We're just all unreasonable people. Why do you think altcoins sold off so fast and hard this time? It's not really the case. They haven't really been selling off hard and fast this time. They've sold off slowly, but consistently, right? So the difference between all of this, what's been happening and what's happened in the past, right? This sell-off is much faster than the one that we've had, like that we have right now. The difference is this was still high prices, and now we're going to like making new lows or whatever. I mean, for example, for BAT, right? If you look at it, BAT isn't really dumping at like historically hard. Like, that's the thing. Like, this dump was much, much, much crazier. I mean, this was from the high to the low, 112 days. We lost 80% of the value, right? And I mean, yeah, that's kind of the look of it. And then you have this dump here from the high to the low at 60%. And it would have to kind of put in this last leg to kind of mirror this one. I mean, 80% is all the way down here, right? This went down 83% here. If this did the same thing as it did here, you'd be looking at something like down here, right? So quite a big thing more to go. The difference is this was after a massive rally, so it just erased the gains of the rally. This is making new lows, which just obviously hurts more for people, because like if you bought the lows here and then just held through it, I mean, that sucks, but I mean, at least you didn't lose any money, and now you're starting to lose money. So it feels different, but really it's not. And it's not really faster than before either. Maybe he means DeFi coins sold fast. I mean, if you're talking about DeFi coins, it's just the difference of how they're built, right? If you can pull liquidity, it's a very different thing from having them bleed out. What do you think? How many months you have to wait for alt season? I don't even want to say we're in for another alt season. Like, I mean, it could be, but I think, like, honestly, like, if you ask me for my blunt, honest, non-hopium answer for when we're gonna get alt season, I think we just had one. And it wasn't an old season, like a classical one, it was a DeFi season. And you had these DeFi coins go absolutely nuts. And people lost a shitload of money on it and retraced all of it. And it could very well be another year or 2 or 3 before we get anything like it again. If Bitcoin goes to all-time high, I mean, I'd be looking for altcoins to do really well. Until then, if anything, I'd play the capitulation parts of it. But like my honest, like non-hopium, and I mean, I'm still coping. I want this to go up. I want to see like another crazy few months of old season, because that shit's fun and that shit multiplies your net worth, right? Bitcoin going up from 10 to 14k is nice and all, but like having an altcoin that is 10% of your portfolio suddenly go to 50% of your portfolio, I mean, that is what truly makes this market like remarkable, right? Those are where like the stupid gains are, but it's the same thing. Like that's where the big losses are as well. And I mean, I've been trying to tell people like if these things rally, sell them. It's not been working, so maybe now it's starting to work. Where I'm like, oh shit, this is hitting support, and I want to see it go up. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't like a lot of people are like, yeah, it's just next old season is just a matter of time. I mean, how the fuck do they know? Like, I don't know. Could be that we had the last one. But I mean, I think the best conditions for old season in general are when Bitcoin is at stupid highs and the media is actually interested in it, right? Because I mean, we all are idiots, right? And a lot of us, and I mean, that was me at the start as well, we fell for the altcoin meme, right? We fell for this is the next Bitcoin thing, and then we traded it, and then it pulled the rug, right? I was lucky enough that my rug pull was just the start. Like when I saw it start rug pulling, it was the first bubble, and we got a repeat echo bubble, right? A bigger one afterwards. So for me, I had my first experience in an environment where I pretty much couldn't lose with the old coins anyway. For a lot of you guys, it's been, you kind of got into, like you got memed into the top of the bigger altcoin bubble. And you've been kind of chilling through the fallout of that, which really, really sucks. And now, like most people have learned that you don't want to hold these forever, right? And if most people have learned that, you're going to get selling into the rallies, right? That's just how it is. Like people now know that you're actually selling into the green. Like if it starts ripping, you sell into it. And you need new idiots to kind of buy through all of that. And if you don't get it, like if you don't get those people, you don't get old season. In my opinion, anyway. You might get like a crazy ETH run because like there's bigger players that actually think ETH's gonna be worth something, but you don't get like stupid coins that just take, like the market in general just takes big leaps forward, like the altcoin market in general. But I mean, that's my opinion. That's why I'm like, okay, if you want to really see an old season, see Bitcoin go to 20, 30, 40K, see the media attention like just go crazy, and then find the idiots that think I'd much rather have like XRP for like 30 cents than I would have Bitcoin for 25K, and then they start buying it and then it starts going crazy and then you dump on them. It's just how it is. Like this thing only goes up if you find the greater idiot, in my opinion. Basically, we need new money coming into crypto to start on season. Not only new money, but also stupid money for most of this. Do you pay any attention to Bitcoin dominance chart? No, not really. Same problem. Bitcoin dominance, I mean, you're going to get altcoins added and added and added. It's the same problem that I showed you earlier with the market cap thing. Like if you have Bitcoin and you have like That's, I mean, I can write this down. You have Bitcoin and you have Litecoin. And Litecoin is 10%, Bitcoin is 90%, whatever, right? And then you add a random coin, and that has a tiny market cap, even if it's just 0.1. Then it obviously redistributes this entire thing, and it's the same problem with the market cap, right? You have just a ghost market cap that doesn't really exist, and then you add another 1,000 of these, like another 1,000 other altcoins, right? No matter how tiny they are, as long as they're kind of included in this entire thing, you obviously have the altcoin dominance of these like 3 and then plus the 1,000 below add up, and Bitcoin is gonna be down in dominance, but it isn't really down in dominance because that market cap doesn't really exist. I googled XXX to see what it is. I mean, I'm sorry for that, but I mean XXX is just like, yeah, I don't even know what showed up for you there, but you get the point, right? Like the more altcoins you add, the higher the percentage of the altcoins is gonna be. Even if the market cap is a 300k, only a 300k, that doesn't really like exist. Why do you say it doesn't exist? People bought those shitcoins. You have a market cap of 300k on the coin that I showed you. If I market dump like a Bitcoin worth of that coin, it's probably going to 0, right? Maybe 2 Bitcoin maximum. So, I mean, you have a coin with 300k market cap, but like, I mean, that market cap is an illusion, right? And I mean, that's the problem with market cap in general. Market cap doesn't show you, okay, this thing has this and this liquidity, right? If a bigger holder starts selling, the shit goes to 0, and you can have a 300k market cap. If you sell 10,000 of it, is 0. And I mean, that is not really, I mean, you can see where the problem is there, right? People think like, okay, the market cap of Bitcoin is this and this. If I sell exactly that much Bitcoin, it's at 0. That's not the case, right? Obviously depends how many buyers you find, how many sellers in general. Like, it's a little bit more complicated. And with these altcoins, it's often the times that there's no buy support, and I mean, in general, the order books are just empty, so you can drive that shit to 0. And I mean, I've seen that happen. Like, I've seen a guy be mad at an altcoin, and it was at like 50 sats, I think, or 60 sats, and he literally dumped it down to 1 sat and then put a sell wall there, essentially killing the coin because the sell wall was so big no one could buy through it. And I mean, the guy lost a shitload of money doing that, but yeah. And it's not just about liquidity, but market cap really is the faulty, like, it's just not the best way to express what something is worth. Or like, in general, like, you can have a big market cap, and if you don't have any, like, it just expresses the price that it's trading at times the amount of stuff that is there, right? So, I mean, if you don't have any buy support, but it's still trading at a high price, yeah. Neo, okay. Oh shit. That looks pretty damn ugly to me. So, made a low, made a higher low. It's now breaking the higher low. Yeah, I just wouldn't trade this, honestly. Like, this is just a choppy chart now. Like, so choppy that I can't do anything with it. You could make an argument, okay, the bigger range now is this. You have, like, the high of the range. Try to make this into the low of the range. Remove everything else that you've drawn in the middle of it, and just watch for, like, I don't know, like a bounce in between. But like, this is so choppy in here. Like, it's completely ignored this. It's completely ignored this. It's probably not going to respond to any TA. So maybe range low does something. But like, when I see this chart, I'm just like, okay, chart is short. The chart is useless, and I'm useless without the chart. So I'm not going to trade it. So yeah. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Like, there was just a lot of stuff that might confuse people. I'm sorry if I confused you. Do feel free, like, if you find anything confusing or whatever, to just comment about it. I try to read the comments under the video, even though I kind of go insane because of all the scammers that try to get you to buy a course under every single YouTube video. But yeah, I'll try to read them, at least mention them in the next stream or whatever. And yeah, obviously feel free in every kind of live stream to just ask questions in the chat. That's why live streams are so nice, because we can actually talk with each other. Really appreciate that you come by and actually watch it live. And for the people that watch it afterwards, I obviously appreciate that too. I also appreciate Bybit for sponsoring the show. They've been really nice to work with. And yeah, if you do want to check them out, check out the links in the description. And yeah, really appreciate that. Did you see ETH already? Yeah, we discussed ETH earlier in the video. So yeah, that's it from me today. I really haven't eaten today, so gonna get on that. And yeah, gonna just chill for a little bit. So yeah, thanks for coming by. See you guys on Friday. I think it's gonna be just me and Cred again, but I mean, we might get a surprise guest if you can find one. But yeah, if not, just gonna be a chill round again. And yeah, see you then. Bye bye.